I was kind of angry, but I was just happy to be alive. And if anything, I was grateful.
So for the second question, everyone here grew up has their own different experiences. So what does your family and friends, how do they feel about guns? Was it something that they used for protection? They had no choice because of the neighborhood they lived in? Or was it something for recreation? How do they feel?
I guess growing up in a household where I've never, unless I didn't know, my mother never owned a gun. I, I just think that sometimes people act before they don't think before they act. And if you place a gun in a household with children, and you might be in a predicament where, I don't know, maybe somebody breaks into your home or something like that, it just makes me, I'm just so fearful of it. And it makes me kind of, step back, and it's like, why do you need a gun in your home in the first place?
You have that gun there. You know that someone comes into my house trying to take over my territory or to try to steal my items. I have something there to protect myself.
If my child finds my gun, I'm not protecting anybody. I'm doing more harm than good. So
I guess I see it on two different perspectives, because definitely in those type of situations, it would be something that would be used as a form of defense. The principles of using a gun being taught to the children and everyone else in the home regarding safety and proper use. So, I mean, if you look at it from both sides, I mean, there's varying perspectives. My friends tend to think, you can use guns for recreational purposes, where you can go to the gun range or go for game and, hunting or something to that nature. But then I also have family members who were on both sides of the fence. So, I mean, it just depends on your perspective and as well as your comfort level.
My family members do own a gun, and the main purpose is for protection. Now, I would say they would use the excuse of using it for self-defense. However, seeing some of them in certain situations where there are altercations in the home, that becomes a resort. Sometimes they have not used it, but they have that option. I do have other friends that use it for recreation. They don't own a gun, but they use a gun for recreational purposes. However, it's not hosted in their home. So, yeah.
Well, I grew up when I was young. I say maybe about 5, 6 years old. I was around my grandmother a lot. She always told me that it's a gun in this house, right? It's a gun in this house, so don't go looking for it. And guess what I did? I never went looking for it. And she taught us not to fear them, but to understand that you don't touch them, right? You don't go looking for it. You don't go try to. And then even on a lot of gun cases, they have a child. If it's secured properly, a child shouldn't be able to get into it, right? So that's the type of younger home that I grew up in. But even after that, I know people who own guns and they use them for recreational uses, mostly like she said, for protection. But they've never used their gun and got mad and shot somebody like that.
Did you feel safe, or do you think that if you know that there's a gun there, can you feel more safe?
I also grew up in a family where there was a murderer in the family who used a gun. So it became taboo. So I come from a very different perspective. And it hasn't changed in my life. And the greatest problem I have with guns, and my family kind of feels this way, is the ones with guns never shoot the person they're really shooting at. They shoot the kid that's standing by. You know what I mean? So with that, I really have a passion against guns.
And I've seen situations where a person may be threatened by a person with the gun, and that other person pulls their gun out. I immediately have this fear that regardless of who was blamed for the situation, I fear for both persons. For the person that may be for defending themselves, but also for the person that may have started the altercation. I have fear for both persons getting hurt, regardless of who the blame is for.
A lot of times the word or the phrase self-defense is used just as a way to get out of, the responsibility of utilizing that specific tool. as a self-defense mechanism. Some people use it, for instance, just like if you look at the Trayvon Martin situation. You have a situation where a young man who felt as though, you know what, someone in my neighborhood may be, you know, a thief or, you know, a burglar or something to that nature, or causing some type of trouble, and then now he goes to look for trouble. And ironically, he has done harm to a young man who was not looking for trouble at all. So, and then now you hear self-defense is being claimed when there was no clause or plausibility for self-defense in this case. So I get where you're coming from, but I also look at it as there's a responsibility to be held with regard to utilizing a gun.
You know, there's people that's, you know, they have bad attitudes, and you know they have guns. They carry their guns, and it's out. Should I have one to defend myself, just in case?